Imagine if you went from feeling fine every day to feeling amazing. How would your life be different? Everyone has the ability to feel amazing again and again. You just need the right tools to get there. If you're ready to feel amazing, stick around. Now, here's the host of the I'm Not Fine show with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens.
What's up, everyone? We are here live again on this wonderful Friday. Today is actually a really special day because it's my birthday. We're going to celebrate my birthday on here, and I'm so happy that I get to have my friend Jamie on here. This is like a gift to me that you are showing up here on my birthday, and we're going to talk about all the things that we love to talk about, which is women's health and wellness and thyroid and hormones and all the fun things. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys that you can reach me in my email at lizzie@undietyourself.live if you have any questions about anything. And if you want to book a consult with me, you can grab my calendar link in the show notes. So make sure that you go grab that if you are someone that wants to have a conversation with me. Now, before we dive into today's show, I want to tell you guys a little bit about Jamie. I've known Jamie for a few years. We met 2 or 3 years ago, I believe, and we just clicked. We were in the same business coaching program, and she was actually one of the coaches in there, and we connected from there. And now we've just stayed in touch, and we both, love what we do, and we bounce ideas off of each other. It's just amazing to have a relationship with her the way that I do, because we all need those kind of people. Jamie Gilliam is a board certified holistic and integrative medicine practitioner specializing in healing the body from the inside out. Jamie is the founder of JG Wellness Clinic, and she is an expert in thyroid function, hormone health, autoimmune disease, and weight management. Jamie transitioned from the fitness industry to healthcare after her own experience with thyroid cancer, cervical cancer, hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, lupus, and menopause. I mean, Jamie, welcome to the show. That is quite the list. So introduce yourself. Let's dive into life after thyroid cancer, but I also want to talk about what it was leading up to that. So tell us a little bit about you, Jamie.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me to your show, Lizzie. And as Lizzie was mentioning just before, it is amazing to have a support group of women. Whenever you are trying to get healthy, you're trying to manage your body composition, your body weight. And so many women, I think, just feel alone and feel like nobody understands. So that's one thing that Lizzie and I both are passionate about, is making sure that you have a support system and somebody who will listen and understand what you're experiencing. And even if we don't understand, if it's not something we've experienced personally, it's understanding that your experience is real and what you are feeling is real, and that needs to be validated. And then investigation has to be done to understand what's going on and what the next steps are, so that you can begin healing and you can feel your best, you can look your best, and you can live the life that you want to live. Because that's what it's really about. We all want to live the best life that we can and enjoy it in the process. So I have been in the fitness industry for more than 2 decades. And I've been working out my entire adult life since I was in high school, and I played a lot of sports throughout school. And thought, just like every other fitness trainer out there, that managing your body composition is all about nutrition and exercise. That's what we're taught. In any fitness certification degree program, we're not taught about endocrine problems. We're not taught about autoimmune disease and all of the underlying things going on in the body that can cause somebody to really struggle to create a consistent calorie deficit for weight loss or a calorie maintenance for weight management. And even in degree programs, that's important to understand, because I have a master's in exercise science, and nowhere in that training were we taught anything about the human body from a medical standpoint. We're only taught how to apply exercise, how to apply nutrition. And the mindset largely within the fitness industry is if somebody's not responding, they are not doing the work. They are confused about how intensely they're working out or how much they're eating, or they're just flat out lying and making excuses. And I thought that as well. I was very compassionate when people were struggling and they weren't getting results in the gym, but I had the same mindset. Well, this person's probably just overeating and not doing the work that they're supposed to be doing outside of the gym when they're meeting with me. And then I went through the experience myself, and it opened my eyes to just how complex the human body is and how much we struggle because our bodies as a whole and us as a whole are not properly evaluated when we are struggling with symptoms or struggling to manage our weight.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely attest to that. It's like when you go to school and you become a certified personal trainer, and maybe you study a little bit about nutrition and what your macros and your calories should be, and it's all macho pacho, like this, it's all about the you're just not working hard enough and you're eating too much. But I will tell you, like, I studied holistic health, and that was kind of like the learning all about the holistic side of things. But it wasn't until I went into the functional field and studied functional nutrition, and I was able to learn the physiology of the body, which is really, really intricate, and it's like endless things that you can study. And that is really where the meat is, because if we don't understand how the body works in those terms, it's really difficult to help someone that is struggling, and they may be working out every single day, 5 days a week, working as hard as they can, eating like a bird, or eating really, really healthy, and nothing is budging. And that is always your body telling you, like, hey, there's something more wrong going on intrinsically, and we need to figure out what that is. And that is really honestly where a lot of women find themselves. But I want to go into because I think that this is something that we both know that hundreds and thousands and millions of women specifically struggle with, is the thyroid. And I know that this is your cup of tea. Like, you understand the way that you understand and talk about the thyroid. I don't hear a lot of people talk about it the way that you do. And I want you to share a little bit about what led up to you even finding out that you had thyroid cancer, and what that process was like. And then what life is. We want to later on talk about what is it like after that, because that's pretty scary to go through. So share with us about that.
So I was struggling with a lot of symptoms, and you have to understand that thyroid cancer and many cancers do not show up in lab work. You have to get an ultrasound, and if there are suspicious nodules on your thyroid, then you need a fine needle biopsy to confirm cancer, and fine needle biopsies aren't always conclusive. So that's something to be mindful of. I was struggling with choking on food. I would choke for a few seconds whenever I would eat, and it was terrifying. I had gotten to the point where I was drinking mostly protein shakes and eating soft food because I was so afraid of choking. Wow. And I was struggling with feeling like there was a rock in my throat. I was having neck pain, jaw pain, and ear pain, and it was splaying up into the side of my face and ear, like the branches of a tree is how I can describe it. And I was also waking up in the middle of the night, some nights feeling like I couldn't breathe. And I was struggling with muscle spasms on the right side of my face. And I kept going to the doctor and kept being told that my labs were normal and that it was anxiety, and my choking episodes were panic attacks. And I knew that that wasn't true. I knew that there was something wrong. And I kept going back, and I was made to feel like I was being a nuisance. Like, I started feeling like I was crazy and losing my mind because they were acting annoyed. And then as I kept going back, I was told maybe it's a neck strain. And then again was told maybe it's a vocal cord strain, because we owned a gym at the time, my husband and I taught a lot of classes and trained a lot. So they were trying to figure out what they could tell me to explain the symptoms. And every time they ran labs, they kept telling me my labs were normal. And I got a new doctor finally after about a year and a half. And she was brand new to practicing medicine, very young woman. And she did the same thing. She ran labs, said, no further testing is needed, you're fine. And I said, will you please just look at my neck? I know there's something in my neck. And she sent me for an ultrasound, and I was in the ultrasound room, and the ultrasound tech said, somebody will call you Monday or Tuesday. It was on a Friday. And the doctor called me within 20 minutes. I wasn't even home yet, and said, I think you have thyroid cancer. I'm 99% certain. You need to come back in and do a fine needle biopsy. And I was relieved to some degree because I had an answer, but I didn't know anything about thyroid cancer at the time. And I just sat and was in shock, and it went through my mind, I'm going to die, because the word cancer, you think the worst. And my mom died of colorectal cancer. We cared for her as she went through that process and passed away. And that's what went through my mind. And once I went in and got the fine needle biopsy, which was the following Monday, I was in surgery within a week or 2 weeks after that for my thyroidectomy. And all of my symptoms were caused by the cancerous nodules. They were pressing on everything in my neck. And as soon as I woke up from surgery, I had relief. And the endocrinologist told me, you're going to be fine. We're going to put you on this medication and you're going to be back to normal in no time. And that's when all of my trouble began, was not having a thyroid and not getting proper care for hypothyroidism. And that's what led me on my journey to learn more about total body health care and understanding lab work, understanding how everything within the body is connected, and understanding proper thyroid care for people who are struggling with hypo and hyperthyroidism.
Wow. I mean, I had chills just like listening to that, because I've gone through diagnosis before, not cancer, but like other things. And getting diagnosed with something, I always tell people there's two different things that happen. There's like, oh, wow, I'm relieved. I got answers. I can move forward and, help fix the problem. And then there's like an oh shit moment of like, wait, what is wrong? And you sort of like, I find that some people, I for myself did this too for a few days, where I'm just like, I went into hibernation mode and I was just like, I don't want to deal with this. And it's almost as if you're just trying to reject the diagnosis. But the biggest thing that I always tell people is, listen, it's difficult and it's hard, and you want to acknowledge the fact that you did get a diagnosis, and we don't want to, shove that to the side. We want to acknowledge that, but we also want to get to a place, and it's okay to feel it. Like, we have to feel through it and allow ourselves to process it, but we have to get to a place where we go, okay, I got answers. I wanted answers. And now what are the next steps? So we're going to go to our first break here. But when we come back, we're going to dive deeper into what was that process like for you. I want you to kind of think about what were those steps for you? What did you have to do? Because you just said like that's where all of your problems started. And I want you to kind of give us some details on like, what did you have to do to figure out how to actually help your body and your health so that you can thrive. So we're going to go to our break. Don't go anywhere. I'm Lizzie Ens, your host on the I'm Not Fine show. We'll be right back.
We often get used to just feeling fine instead of reaching to feel excellent or even good. Wellness is about feeling good, and that is a journey of continually coming back to what is nourishing and healing for us. Your body is functional and ever-changing, like a pendulum swinging. We must learn how to move with our bodies. Tuning into I'm Not Fine with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens will provide you with simple but effective tools that you can use right away, so you can go from feeling just fine to feeling amazing. Listen for I'm Not Fine on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is I'm Not Fine with Lizzie Ens. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to Lizzie at undietyourself.live. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. You know what? I think it's perfect that Jamie is here and that this show is I'm Not Fine, because she was clearly not fine. So this is perfect. If you are here with us listening and tuning in live, you can join us in the chat box in the chat room here, and you can put questions in the chat room. So if you have any specific questions for me or any questions for Jamie, drop those in the chat box and let us know what some questions are that you have, and we'll help you understand and we'll give you some answers. So for now, we're going to go back to the show, and I'm going to let Jamie take the floor and talk a little bit about what those steps were that you had to take, Jamie, after your thyroidectomy. And that was great that you were able to wake up and be like, all right, like all my symptoms were gone, but then you had like a whole slew of other problems that came. Walk us through that and what that was like and what you had to do.
So I want to preface this by telling you that if you are struggling with your health, if you have a diagnosis, no matter what you've been through, I think it's so important to understand that it doesn't define you and it doesn't become your identity. I have been through these things, but it's not who I am. And my goal is to live a life that I'm proud of and to use my experiences to help other people. And you have to really fight sometimes for your health, and you have to fight for answers. And it's a commitment to yourself. It's a dedication to yourself and knowing that you're enough and you can rise above any diagnosis, any condition, any struggle that you have. And there's a quote, you can get bitter or you can get better. And you have a choice to let it make you bitter or it can make you better. And so just keep that in the back of your mind if you are struggling, because you have so much power within you to heal and to rise above any circumstance. It's not always easy. It's not always simple, but you can absolutely do it. So they took my thyroid out, and there are a lot of great things about conventional healthcare. I do a combination of holistic and conventional care for my patients, and I love a lot of things about conventional care, but there are some areas where it's really lacking because of the way the system is set up. And when it comes to thyroid care for hypothyroidism, the standard treatment in conventional medicine is levothyroxine, which is T4 only treatment. So if you have a thyroidectomy, you automatically will have hypothyroidism because your thyroid regulates metabolism. And many people don't understand that the thyroid's job is to regulate metabolism in the body. This is why if somebody has hypothyroidism that's not properly medicated or untreated, which 60% of cases are undiagnosed, which means they're untreated, you are going to struggle with weight management. You're going to struggle with brain fog and body pain, muscle pain, joint pain. You're going to struggle with digestive issues, and the inability to recall words mid-sentence is a big one. You can have mental health problems, temperature sensitivity, and just a lot of symptoms that interfere with your day-to-day life. So I went home after my surgery, started the levothyroxine. I was in the gym several days after my thyroidectomy doing light treadmill work and light lifting because I've just always worked out, and then slowly progressed back up to my normal training protocol. And I had a constant headache. I was having major digestive issues, and I felt terrible. And my kids were making jokes that I had Alzheimer's because I literally could not remember things. I was forgetting whole conversations, and I'd be talking about one of my kids to somebody and couldn't remember their name for a few moments. It would take me a few seconds to think of their name, or if I was talking about a pen, I couldn't remember the name of a pen. And I was steadily gaining weight. I gained almost 20 pounds, right at 18 to 20 pounds, even though I was working out 6 days a week and I was managing my nutrition. I was in a calculated calorie deficit, which a lot of people in the fitness industry, when they say that, are like, no, you weren't in a calorie deficit. I was in a calculated calorie deficit where you use your age, weight, height, activity level, and calculate what your basal metabolic rate is. I was not in a real calorie deficit. And the reason why is because I was not properly medicated for my hypothyroidism. I was grossly under-medicated, and I kept going into the endocrinologist and my primary care and was saying, hey, I'm gaining weight. I don't feel good. Something's wrong. I was messaging through the patient portal, and I kept being told your labs are fine. Your labs are normal and you're fine. And I was getting very frustrated because I kept trying to explain, this isn't my body. This isn't me. This isn't my life. And I even ended up making an appointment with my surgeon and my hematologist, and went to them. And my hematologist was like, what are you doing here? And I said, I need help. And he referred me back to my endocrinologist. And my surgeon said, look, I just take out your thyroid. I don't do meds or anything like that. You need to go back to your endocrinologist. And then I started doing my own research and learning more about thyroid care, and realized that my endocrinologist was not running complete labs. She wasn't running a full thyroid panel. She had put me on 112 micrograms of generic levothyroxine, and that dosing was not based on my labs. It was based on a chart that says, based on this patient's height and weight, this is the dose. And then she never gave it another thought. And when I finally looked at my labs, because I didn't know at the time to look at my own labs, I was just trusting my doctor because that's what we're taught to do. My TSH was a 5, which is way too high for anybody, but especially if you're on thyroid medication. And she was not testing my free T4, my free T3, my reverse T3. And she also was not checking my thyroid peroxidase and my thyroid globulin antibodies. And that's important, and I'll explain that in a minute. So my conversion was horrible. So T4, you have to convert to active T3, which is your active thyroid hormone that regulates metabolism. T4 is inactive. And when I got my labs, my TSH was a 5, my free T3 was a 2.1, which is at the bottom of the barrel in the lab range. It needs to be in the top end of the lab range if you're on meds. And my reverse T3 was also high, which is inactive T3, which meant a lot of my T4 I was converting to inactive versus active T3. And this is typically because something else is going on in the body. You've got chronic inflammation. Something is causing your thyroid to slow metabolism by converting too much to inactive T3. It's like pumping the brakes. And my thyroglobulin antibodies were elevated. They were at 383. Now, a lot of people in conventional medicine believe that if you have a thyroidectomy and you have Hashimoto's, which I didn't even know I had, I don't know if I had it prior to my thyroidectomy or if it triggered the Hashimoto's, but they believe that if you have a thyroidectomy, it will automatically put your Hashimoto's into remission, because Hashimoto's, your immune system is attacking your thyroid or thyroid function and causing damage to your thyroid. So the thought is, well, if you don't have a thyroid, then you don't have Hashimoto's. But in 25% of cases of people who have had thyroidectomies, we still struggle with Hashimoto's. And even if your antibodies are undetectable after a thyroidectomy, it still does not solve the root cause of your Hashimoto's. And this is a problem because there are triggers for autoimmune disease that need to be addressed, or you will go on to develop more conditions as you move throughout your life. So the biggest problem with that is not so much the Hashimoto's, but if you've had thyroid cancer and you have thyroglobulin antibodies, when you go in for a cancer recurrence check, which I go every 6 months, they use thyroglobulin as a cancer marker to test for thyroid cancer recurrence. If you have thyroglobulin antibodies, it skews that lab result. So I cannot depend on thyroglobulin testing to determine if I have a recurrence or not. I have to get ultrasounds, and there are some other blood tests that I can do. So basically, I was just not getting adequate care. And luckily, I recognized this and started doing my own research, because this could have been very detrimental to my health. And not only that, I would be probably 40 plus pounds overweight at this point if I didn't know what I know now.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy when you think about that, because that is the ultimate fight for your health. And this is something that happens to so many women now. And I always tell people, I'm like, listen, doctors are there for a reason. Conventional medicine is there for a reason, but we all know the system's broken. We all know that millions of women are not getting the help. Even men are not getting the help that they need. I mean, I work with some men too, and it's the same story. But one of the things that I think that you and I are so incredibly passionate about is teaching women specifically how to get educated and then feel empowered when they do need to go visit the doctor. I had that happen with a client of mine. You know, she worked with me, we did her labs and got her on a really good protocol, and she's having massive results. She goes and visits her yearly gynecologist visit, and the gynecologist was like, well, you know, she shows her the labs that we did. And the gynecologist was like, well, I could run all these labs, but like, there's no guarantee that the insurance would pay for it. And my client's like, no, like, I don't need you to rerun these labs, first of all. And second, I don't want a $3,000 bill because insurance doesn't cover it. Because we both know, like, because of the system that we use to do our labs, we get it at a much bigger discount than if someone goes to the doctor and the insurance covers part of it. But I had someone go to the doctor one time and see if they would run all the labs, and they came back and they said, oh, this would cost you $3,000. And so my client was like, the doctor was trying to like warn her, like, well, you're not sitting in Lizzie's office, like, and my client tells her, listen, sitting in an office chair, in a doctor's office chair, hasn't helped me before. I didn't get anywhere, didn't help me. I went over here, I actually got answers and I got help, and it's working. And the doctor actually had to like sit back and go, you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. This wasn't helping you. And I can see that you're educated. So that's a huge compliment. And I know that that's something that you and I are really, really passionate about, because if you don't feel in control or empowered or educated about your health and how you can help it, it's really, really feels really, really hopeless. And so that's something that I know that we both love to do. And we want women to understand that they have a choice and that they are allowed to speak up and ask for more and ask for better. And if the doctor's like, hey, I can't help you, I'm going to refer you, then it's on us to go, okay, well, I guess I need to go somewhere else. But we're going to go to our next break here. And when we come back, I want you, Jamie, to kind of walk us through like what you had to change, because you had this crazy weight gain happening. You talked about some other symptoms as well, like pretty extensive stuff. And you had to change a lot of things to get where you're at now. So when we come back, we're going to talk about some of those things that you had to do in order to finally like start feeling better and lose the weight that was crazy. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I'm Lizzie Ens, your host on the I'm Not Fine show.
We often get used to just feeling fine instead of reaching to feel excellent or even good. Wellness is about feeling good, and that is a journey of continually coming back to what is nourishing and healing for us. Your body is functional and ever-changing, like a pendulum swinging. We must learn how to move with our bodies. Tuning into I'm Not Fine with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens will provide you with simple but effective tools that you can use right away, so you can go from feeling just fine to feeling amazing. Listen for I'm Not Fine on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is I'm Not Fine with Lizzie Ens. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Lizzie at undietyourself.live. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. We are having such an amazing conversation here with my friend, Jamie Gilliam. And am I saying your last name right? Is it Gilliam?
Yes.
Is that how you say your last name? I was like, am I saying it? I think that's how I say your last name.
You got it.
We are talking all things like from thyroid to mostly thyroid, but thyroid cancer and the struggle with the medical system. So if you've been listening this far, don't go anywhere, because now we're going to get into what some very specific steps are that you can take if you are in a similar situation. So Jamie, what I want you to do is walk us through what you did. What did you have to change? What did you have to do to finally like feel better and feel like a human again? So walk us through that.
So in the midst of my frustration, I was also diagnosed with cervical cancer several months after my thyroidectomy. And that's really when I thought, what the heck's going on in my body? Does my body just love cancer? What's the deal? And a friend called me, and I thought she was a little, wacky, because she said, before you do anything, before you get this hysterectomy, I want you to join this group and learn about these holistic protocols and try this first. And I did. I didn't want to have a hysterectomy because I was already struggling from not having a thyroid. And I didn't want to go through another surgery. So I did a holistic protocol for 6 months and then went in for a recheck. And I was, if you don't know, persistent HPV is what causes cervical cancer. And I was HPV negative, and my cervical cancer was an NED status. And so now I go every 6 months for a cervical cancer recurrence check as well. And I did a holistic protocol. And that's when I said, there's something to all of this, and I need to learn more about this. So I went back to school and studied holistic and integrative medicine and mentored under my provider, because at that point I had found a new provider, and he taught me more about labs and medications and a lot more about the endocrine system. So when you have any diagnosed condition, and especially when we're talking about the thyroid, hormones, autoimmune disease, systemic infection, vitamin and mineral deficiencies, everything within the body is connected. And I'll add gut and liver to that. You cannot just look at the thyroid and treat the thyroid. You cannot just look at hormones and treat the hormones. You can't look at one line item in your lab work and that needs to be treated. You have to look at the body as a whole and figure out what is going on. Is there one root cause that is causing all of these problems? Are there genetic factors? I have MTHFR and COMT. So there's a lot that you have to consider whenever you want to heal and feel better. It's not ever going to be medication alone if you need medication. And it's never just going to be exercise and nutrition. Yes, those are foundational things, but your exercise, your nutrition, your sleep, your stress management matters. And also treating whatever is going on in the body matters. And oftentimes we need supplement support, we need herbal support, and we may need medication. And one thing that I discovered through my journey was I have a lot of trauma, and my nervous system was extremely dysregulated. And I thought my childhood was fine. I think you get used to what is normal for you, and you don't recognize what's abnormal because you're learning to survive in the midst of whatever is happening. And you learn to disconnect and disassociate very well. So I was very disconnected from my body, very disconnected from myself. And I did a lot of trauma healing and mindset work, which I continue to do today. I'm on a 7-year journey with mindset and trauma healing work at this point. And I've had to break a lot of patterns and a lot of habits because your nervous system is connected to everything in the body as well. You have 12 body systems. They work independently and together for your body to function. When it came to medication with hypothyroidism, I was on T4 only, and I was on the generic, which I was having a lot of side effects to the fillers and dyes, I believe. I was keeping a constant headache, and the digestive issues would happen about 20 minutes after I would take my medication. So I switched to a better quality T4. I switched to Tirosint, and this is all individualized based on what I need. There are many different medication options for hypothyroidism, and everybody needs something different. But based on my labs, I needed more T4 and I needed to add T3. And we know from the data that T4, T3 combo treatment is best. We have better outcomes, we manage our symptoms better, and manage our body composition better than people on T4 only. So I increased my T4 to 150 and ultimately to 175, which is a huge difference, and added liothyronine, which is T3, which is your active thyroid hormone controlling metabolism, because I wasn't converting well at all. And I'm now on 40 micrograms of T3, which a lot of providers in conventional medicine will say, oh my gosh, that's way too much. But based on my lab work, my medication is dialed in for exactly what I need. Now, I didn't increase all at one time. You don't ever go on a ton of T3 all at once. You have to slowly increase it over time because it's an immediate release. It acts like a stimulant. It has a very short half-life. So you incrementally increase thyroid meds over time so that you don't have a lot of side effects from the medication and your body's able to adjust over time. And then with that, getting other labs, getting comprehensive labs, which Lizzie and I both are very passionate about getting the information necessary so that you know what's going on in your body. So my endocrinologist wasn't running hardly any labs and telling me that my labs are normal. And how can you tell me my labs are normal if you're not even running labs? So checking my hormones and my vitamin and mineral levels, my liver function, checking for systemic infection and other things going on in the body. My testosterone was extremely low. My progesterone was low. And my A1C and my fasting glucose skyrocketed after my thyroidectomy. Even though I was working out and eating well, that is a side effect that's common with hypothyroidism and not being properly medicated. And also my estrone, which is a different type of estrogen than estradiol, was through the roof, which increased my risk for heart attack, stroke, cardiac events. So I went on hormone replacement, testosterone and progesterone, and also my pregnenolone, DHEA, which are parent hormones, were also low. So I went on a full hormone replacement protocol and also went on berberine for insulin resistance, which is commonly used in Asian countries for insulin resistance and diabetes in place of metformin. And with all of that, and also liver support, gut support, and my mindset work, and all of the holistic things for nervous system regulation, skin brushing, massage, red light therapy. There's a lot of different things that you can use to calm the nervous system. Between all of those things combined, I was able to get my body back. I started feeling better. I wasn't having mood swings. I was remembering things and I started getting my energy back. And it took about 8 weeks to really notice that I felt better. I was feeling better within the first few weeks. And then about 8 weeks in, I was like, whoa, like it was like a cloud had been lifted and I got my body back rather quickly because, you know, I was in the gym every day and managing my nutrition. So it wasn't difficult for me to get my body back because I was already doing all the right things.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's just, it's quite phenomenal when you think about what really goes into you getting your health back. Like, it's not just about, hey, looking a certain way, but it's like you had to do that in order to not die, because if you wouldn't have done anything, like that would have led down to, and you had other things going on too. Like you eventually found out you had lupus and all of those things too. So you've had to do a lot of the healing. One of the things that like really stood out to me that you said early on in the show was you can get bitter or you can get better. And that is really, really a powerful statement, because the emotional aspect of our health and the emotional trauma, mental trauma, all of those things, I don't think people realize how powerful and how much of a hold that can have over our bodies. Like I actually have a client of mine that is sort of like going through something similar, and based on what her results are telling us, is like she actually needs to really, really focus on healing from trauma and the psychological aspect of things. She probably actually needs to cut off some relationships for a while so that she can actually work on regulating her nervous system, because if she doesn't, there's no way that her body can actually get better, because she's always in that fight or flight. So if you're always and constantly under stress and you are in that fight or flight, your nervous system can't regulate. And therefore, your cortisol is probably all messed up and you're not sleeping well, which also means your inflammation is always high, which means your body can't rest, digest, and heal. And that's why the nervous system is so incredibly important to pay attention to, and the psychological aspect of things. So we're going to go to our next break here, and we only have a few minutes left when we come back. But when we do come back, I want to finish the show out today just talking about some basic things that people can do on a daily basis if they have hypothyroidism. What is it that you would tell someone that they should be doing on a daily basis to make sure that they're helping their thyroid and what that looks like? So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, and we're going to finish this show out with some simple things that you can do so you can walk away here feeling empowered. I'm Lizzie Ens. I'm your host on the I'm Not Fine show.
We often get used to just feeling fine instead of reaching to feel excellent or even good. Wellness is about feeling good, and that is a journey of continually coming back to what is nourishing and healing for us. Your body is functional and ever-changing, like a pendulum swinging. We must learn how to move with our bodies. Tuning into I'm Not Fine with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens will provide you with simple but effective tools that you can use right away, so you can go from feeling just fine to feeling amazing. Listen for I'm Not Fine on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is I'm Not Fine with Lizzie Ens. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Lizzie at undietyourself.live. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. We are just about to finish out this show today, and I am just so thankful and grateful for this conversation today, because I truly believe that it's going to help a lot of people out. If you're struggling with anything regarding your thyroid or hormones or health in general, we want you to walk away feeling like, wow, I know way more than I did before, and now I feel like I know what steps I need to take. Jamie, I know that you talk about thyroid stuff all the time and you have a pretty successful business with helping women primarily in thyroid and hormones. And where can people find you? Before we get to the end of the show, I want you to share with us, where can people find you? What's your main platform of social media?
I'm mainly on TikTok, and my handle is JG Wellness Clinic. And I talk about all kinds of things related to your overall health for both men and women. Most of what I talk about is thyroid, hormones, autoimmune disease, chronic illness, weight management. Most of your endocrine problems and autoimmune diseases affect women. About 80% of cases are in women, but they affect men as well. And I think a lot of men go undiagnosed because they don't go to the doctor as often. They're a lot less likely to talk about what they're struggling with, and they're not being properly screened. So they affect both men and women. But when it comes to what you need to do, you have to empower yourself with knowledge. I think people know more about whatever they love to do, whatever your hobby is. A lot of people know more about that than their own bodies. And you don't have to get into too in depth with it, but you need to know the basics. If you are struggling, you need a full thyroid panel. If you're struggling with hypothyroidism, if you're struggling with other symptoms, you also want to get a hormone panel, vitamin and mineral panel, inflammatory markers, and also an ANA screen. And there are some other tests that I involve in that as well, depending on the patient. And I know you do as well, Lizzie. And that allows us to look at the body as a whole. And then your lifestyle, your exercise, your nutrition, your stress, your sleep needs to be evaluated along with your medical history, any diagnosed conditions, medications, supplements. I see a lot of people who have boxes of supplements that they've ordered because they're desperate for help. And all these different people will recommend different things and say, this is the magic solution. But they're combining supplements, they're overdosing on herbs, they're taking herbs that are making their condition worse. And so everything has to be evaluated.
Yep.
Everything about you as a person. And when it comes to lifestyle, manage your stress, learn better coping skills. If you have trauma, learn how to heal your trauma and do things that are going to calm your nervous system. If you're living in constant chaos mode, it takes time and work to learn how to get out of that. I know because I've lived in that mode my entire life. And your nutrition matters. Food is medicine. So making sure that you're getting whole quality foods and the bulk of your diet is coming from real food, meats, seafood, vegetables, fruits, and limit all of the other things, highly processed foods, added sugars. I'm not a big fan of elimination, but moderate those things, limit them, and pay attention to how you feel after you eat certain foods so you're aware if something is causing you symptoms, if you're sensitive or have an allergy. And make sure that you're getting adequate sleep. People are running on fumes. They're not getting adequate sleep. Make a bedtime routine that helps you wind down so that you can go to sleep, and make sure that your room is set up where you can stay asleep. And there are many things that affect sleep, your hormones, your thyroid. So those things have to be addressed. And make sure that you advocate for yourself. Make sure that if you get an answer from anyone helping you with your healthcare, and there's a check in your spirit saying, this doesn't really sound right to me or doesn't feel good, it's okay to say, can we run these labs? Or, can we do further diagnostic testing? Because I think that there's something wrong. And if your provider is not willing to help you, not willing to listen, and blowing you off, you have the right to hire a different provider.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's so, so important. And that goes with even hiring a coach. Like I always tell people, I'm like, listen, this is a relationship. We are basically in a relationship and it has to feel right for you. You have the power to say yes or no. I don't make that decision for you. And if this doesn't feel like the right fit for you, say no. There's other options. And I would rather you work with someone that you feel like is aligned with what you are wanting and needing. And so I don't think that everybody is a good fit for you. And I don't think that you're a good fit for everybody, but you are a good fit for the people that need you and the people that feel like they can work well with you. So Jamie, we're about to end the show here, but where can people reach you the best? Is it through TikTok? Is it through email? Where's the best place for people to reach you?
You can click the link in my bio on TikTok and you can book a consult if you'd like a review of your labs and your medical history. You can also email me at Jamie, Jamie at justloveyourbod.com. And I'm happy to answer any questions and figure out what kind of care you need. And I think you make an important point, because we are not the answer to everybody's problem. And we do a lot of great work for people's health, but sometimes we have to refer to more specialty care. I've seen evidence of cancer in labs. I've seen evidence of more serious conditions, cardiac conditions that require cardiologist or oncology or more investigation. And so be mindful of that as well. When you're working with somebody, they should always be able to reach out to people within their network that specialize in different things that they do not specialize in, because it's really about having a support team.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jamie, I just want to thank you so much for coming out today. Means the world to me. This was an amazing conversation. If you guys listen to this episode, please give it a review and let us know what you think. See you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to the I'm Not Fine show. Lizzie Ens returns Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, have the best week of your life by making choices that take you from feeling fine to feeling amazing.